grids then for Honda Cadet will be up on the screen in a few seconds time as the sun makes a break through there, the clouds. That's juniors up, so we've just seen them, and hopefully we'll get the Cadet grid up in a few seconds because they're already out onto the circuit. There we are. James Fabricius starts on pole position alongside Ethan Charles. Harris Alley and Harris Roberts share row 2. Max Williams and Tom Drake on row number 3. Larry Price and Amy Peacock row 4. The top 10 then completed by George Ralston and Bobby Pete, with Max Gritrex and Harry Samuel on row 6. Jensen White starts 13th alongside Alex Lynn. Max Gilman and Freddie Howser share row number 8. Nate Gange and Max Wheatley are on row 9. The top 20 then completed by Freddie Lyons and Thomas Potter. Then we get into those drivers that qualified through the B final. Isabella Stansmore-Wilson, the winner of that B final, starts 21st alongside Sam Howell. Stanley Clark and Lewis Hall are on row number 12. And then our grid is completed by Rio Warderley, Sam Hayes, Ralphie Branscombe, Ayrton Rye, Jack Collinson and Cameron Tipping. Your 30 runners, the top 20 getting through on points, the remaining 10 getting through out of the B final. And I'll be joined for this final by Alex Goldschmidt.
Well, good evening, actually. It's quite fitting that, you know, despite the delays, we've seen some great action over the course of the opening round of the season and roll on Wilton Mill, but we've got one more still to go. And with, you know, over 40 cadets here coming into the opening round of the championship, David, we've just been blessed with great action. We had that absolute furore with the drivers and drivers changing tyres for Heat 2. I spoke with quite a few drivers. Isabella Stansmore-Wilson, she said, my dad decided to make the change and it worked, and she got into the top 10. Obviously the 3 wheels on the wagon routine didn't really pay well for her later on in the day, but she's got through and she was very, very prominent, and I would expect that she's going to make her way up through the top 20 quite easily, and we could see her battling towards the bottom part of the top 10, maybe even halfway through it, David.
Certainly so. The pace has been there. It's just unfortunate that as she came through, she had that problem that saw her unable to take part in her second heat of the day. Looks like we are fairly clear, and we're clear fairly quickly. 10 minutes on the clock in the top left corner there on the time of our timing tower. Red lights on as well. We're just waiting for the 5-second board, which is up. The red lights are on. They're distinguished and we're away and racing. It's a good start then from Fabricius, but not quite as good as Ethan Charles, who on the outside could be looking to lead this one round the first corner. Will he get there first? Can he close the door on Fabricius? He does, and Fabricius gets the bows chopped off, and Ethan Charles leads round the first corner but then runs wide. Harris Alley faces the wrong way in mid-part corner. That's Ralphie Branscombe as well as a mid-spin. It looked like Harris Alley was going to run out of track, but actually managed to get it stopped before the tarmac turned into gravel on the outside. And it looks like Alex Fabricius might be back into the lead.
Yeah, got the switch back through the chicane on the other side. I mean, what a move from Ethan Charles around the outside. And look, it's getting a bit tasty out there. Oh, backwards is the number 99. That's George Ralston, and has to wait for the entire field. And the number 8 jumps over the front bumper. That's Sam Howell.
Stansmore-Wilson as well. And Branscombe facing the wrong way again as Ralston tries to rejoin the circuit. So Isabella Stansmore-Wilson, who we thought was going to try and come through, has now actually got to come through from the back of the pack and will be even lucky to get top 20.
Yeah, Harris Roberts really on a charge. The youngster from South Wales, our resident own Hoonigan. He's doing the old Ken Block routine here. 4th in last year's championship, looking to go for the title this season, and he is challenging for the lead with James Fabricius.
Tom Drake goes down the inside of Jensen White, but then gets a bit of snap oversteer on exit and runs incredibly very wide.
Yeah, so it's going to be quite interesting because Fabricius still leading, Harris Roberts in tow. It's about a kart length and a bit between the pair of them, David. And we know with cadet racing, you and I, from our travels, wait until the last 2 laps because that's when you get the fireworks.
Absolutely, and you see the higher you go, you see the drivers, they do sort of wait and they play it out and they bide their time, and that's when it really kicks off towards the end of the race. We've seen some fireworks early doors in this one. I do expect it to settle down a little bit for a couple of minutes as the heart rate's lower for all our drivers, and expect it to peak again in the final couple of minutes. But in this one, Harris Roberts is actually sticking with James Fabricius, and Roberts, whilst quick throughout the day, hasn't actually looked like challenging for a victory. Fabricius has done fantastic at a circuit he knows incredibly well, as we've got a yellow flag down at post 1. Looks like Ralston facing the wrong way again, unfortunately for him. But yeah, Fabricius at a circuit that he's very, very familiar with. Harris Roberts not so much so. The two of them putting down a marker for the season.
And Harris Roberts now takes the lead going into the next left-hander. Oh, cuts across the front of Fabricius there. Fabricius, as you said, knows this track very well, but Harris Roberts has been waiting, biding time, using Fabricius as a marker. And that's quite crucial, because you don't want to be leading the race. You want to be in second. You want to pounce at the right moment.
Roberts then must be confident that he can pull away here then from Fabricius, because he's gone early. Fabricius left the door open, potentially not expecting Roberts to go quite so soon down there into that one, maybe expecting him to sit behind and wait patiently. But the two of them certainly have a bit more pace, you know, than everybody else today. Behind them, Ethan Charles sticking with them, confident, and a good third place for him, which saw him start on the front row. Harris Alley in fourth, with Max Williams, Amy Peacock, Harry Samuel, Bobby Pete, Jensen White, and Tom Drake completing the top 10. Larry Price in 11th, Alex Lynn, Freddie Housigo, Max Gutrex, and Rio Wardelli coming into the top 15, having been outside the top 20. He qualified via the B final. He's up into the top 15, so into the top half of the pack here at Fulbeck. And that's Harris Alley with Max Williams behind Amy Peacock, who finished fourth in the club championship here in the 160s in the cadet class at Fulbeck, as James Fabricius tries to get down the inside. Very, very compliant there, though, from Harris Roberts. Let him have that one.
Yeah, it's all about strategy, because with 6 minutes plus an additional lap to go, you don't want to put all your cards on the table. And between Fabricius and Roberts, they're pulling away from Ethan Charles. The gap is about the best part of nearly 1.5 seconds. Max Gutrex gets a warning from race control in the 77.
I know what Ethan Charles wants out of this, though.
He wants to be on one of the two top steps. He'd prefer to be on the top one. That's very much.
He will, and he'll be watching, because the gap back to fourth place, Harris Alley, who's doing incredibly well to hold on to fourth place, but is backing Max Williams and Amy Peacock and the rest of them up back all the way into Jensen White in 9th. Now Ethan Charles, he is still moving away from them, because Harris Alley's doing incredibly well to hold on to P4. Ethan Charles is waiting, and in his final 5 minutes, he wants to see an overtake, but he wouldn't mind them both doing something silly.
Yeah, just seen a move between Max Williams and Amy Peacock, with the 17 going up into 5th position as we're side by side. Who's that round the outside? That's
Peacock hanging Harris Alley out to dry there, and I thought Williams was going to come through as well. So Peacock, who got past Max Williams in the early part of the lap, has also got past Harris Alley. She's got the pace. Harris Alley was holding the entire pack up there, doing what he needed to do to hold on to P4. He's had a solid day, ran inside the top 10 in all of his races here at Fulbeck today. A solid opening to the season for Harris Alley, and now it's whether Amy Peacock can break away, but the gap to the podium around about 4 seconds, and that is a big ask in 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's going to be a tall order to really sort of subjugate and see how Amy Peacock responds and pulls away from the train behind her. But still, it's toe-to-toe. Fabricius and Roberts bouncing over the curbs with reckless abandon. And I've seen parts of the circuit where Roberts is more aggressive on the curbing. That's actually giving him a little bit of a springboard to try and get past Fabricius. But we've still got 4.25 minutes to go, plus an additional lap. This is anybody's guess as whether Fabricius or Roberts are going to end up on the top step, or could it come to something different?
And they're still maintaining the pace here, despite the fact that Fabricius is being incredibly defensive in the parts of the circuit that he probably knows he's not got the march on Roberts round this circuit. You'll see down this bottom end of the circuit into the complex, he takes his normal lines. Watch him down start finish though. That number 91 machine will be parked right in the middle of the circuit. He will not take the optimum line until the final seconds that he has to. There he goes wide right at the end to maximise the entry, but he does what he needs to do. Still though, fastest lap, personal best for Fabricius. Fastest lap of the race for Harris Roberts behind. Roberts dips out of the slipstream. Fabricius goes defensive into that corner, already looking over his shoulder. Harris Roberts behind, nose to tail, 3.5 minutes remaining.
Yeah, and I saw a little bit of a gesticulation from Roberts saying, come on, man, get on with it. And that's exactly what Fabricius needs to do as they bump over the curbs through the chicane. 3.25 minutes to go. Ethan Charles, I've just been keeping an eye on his lap times. He's about 7/10 off of the two in front, because they're literally nigh on matching each other. And Harris Roberts, for the last couple of times, has actually had the fastest lap over James Fabricius.
think he's too far back though, but he's got enough to hold on to that third place unless something terrible happens to him. The top 10 with 3 minutes remaining. Fabricius and Harris Roberts miles away down the road, although there is a change for the lead off camera. Roberts comes through on timing in the lead, and he is comfortably as well by a couple of kart lengths. Fabricius picks up a warning as well, and Harris Roberts has moved through. So the top 10, Roberts, Fabricius, Charles, Peacock, Ali, Williams, Price, Samuel, White and Drake.
Price has actually overtaken Samuel for 7th position on the previous tour, so good going. I mean, Amy Peacock has broken away from Harris Ali, and she, I think it was not this previous lap, but the lap before, she took the best part of nearly 3/10 out of Ethan Charles, but still, time is fast running away here, David. Certainly is. 2 minutes remaining, plus that one lap. Fabricius is going to pick up a warning flag when he comes over the line. Now it's Harris Roberts' turn to park the 45 machine in the defensive lines. Smashes the curb on the entry there into the turn 7. And let's see, he's going to do exactly the same as what Fabricius was doing to him. Down the middle of the track until the final moment. Switches out onto the optimum line. Both of them, though, still plugging in fastest laps. This time it's Fabricius with the fastest lap of the race. Not too far behind in overall lap time, though. Harris Roberts there, less than half a tenth between them. Yeah, there's about 3 laps, including this one by my calculations here, David. It's all going to come down to the last couple of laps. I did say cadet racing is one of the classes that I started commentating on back in 2017. And this is a perfect example of 2 drivers pulling away from the rest of the field. And you can hear the cheers down from the commentary position. They're cheering them on here at Fulbeck. They've been incredibly respectful of each other thus far. And whilst I expect that to continue, I imagine the leniency will probably go a little bit out of the window as the time comes down. The aggression will go up when the drivers know that they've got one final opportunity to take glory here at the opening round of CKC 2022. And Harris Roberts leading the way from James Fabricius, who's had a good run. There's some support going on there as Harris Roberts, once again, parks the machine in the middle of the circuit. They are probably getting round for 2 laps here, Alex. I think they're going to get round before the time elapses. As Fabricius goes to the inside of Harris Roberts. Roberts wasn't expecting that one. He went wide, wasn't expecting Fabricius to go down the inside into the second chicane. And James Fabricius comes through. I think Fabricius might even be expecting to see the last lap board this time. I don't think he will. I think the time is going to still be there. I think they might have 2-3 seconds maybe when they come over the line. This time, they're going to have another 2 laps at this one. It's going to be all the way to the end as Harris Roberts tries a different line, tries to slot one down the inside. We have got still 10 seconds on the board, 2 remaining. It's getting close to the wire. I think there's going to be a photo finish, but look, they're nose to tail coming through the chicane, down the short chute into the sweeping right-hander. And again, Fabricius, as you said, knowing this track well, is parking the kart exactly where he needs to. He now, I can see a little bit of motivation. He's looking over his left and right shoulder as Harris Roberts looks to go side by side through the next chicane, but the 45 from Merthyr Tydfil denied. Tried to do exactly what Fabricius did to him on that previous lap. But Fabricius, the 8-year-old from Barnsley in his first year of cadet racing, looks like he's been doing this for 3-4 years. Looks like he's at the end of his cadet career and is ready to go up into minis the way he's driving this Fulbeck circuit. But the 8-year-old holding on from Harris Roberts. The last lap board will be out this time. No time left. Last lap board, showdown time. Harris Roberts has got to go for it, as Matthias Ekstrom has on the back of his race helmet. It's go hard or go home. He's going to channel his inner Kenner block, and he's trying to go through the chicane. It was side by side, but Fabricius edges ahead into the next right-hander. Yeah, it looks like there was a little bit of contact there as well from Harris Roberts, but he won't mind. There's got plenty of time, even if he picks up a contact penalty for front fairing. They're well down the road in terms of positions from Ethan Charles, who has a comfortable 3rd place on his hands at the moment, still bouncing over the curbs. Fabricius went very defensive into the chicane, as you'd expect. Expect him to white line it down the inside. He's left the door open. Harris Roberts down the inside, forces Fabricius wide, goes all the way up to the right line. Can Fabricius hold it on? Harris Roberts is going to take victory here at Fulbeck, on the track at the very least. Let's see whether this one will go to the stewards, but we'll be well off before then. Harris Roberts takes the checkered flag on the final lap with a move on James Fabricius. Fabricius left the door open. Harris Roberts parked the kart on the inside, and the podium is completed by an elated Ethan Charles.